Hello, nerds. It's been a while since we've done reaction videos, and actually, this is we're gonna do a real quick batch that is not going to have intros, but we are going to have the disclaimer. That being said, I'm not going to play an intro right here. We're just going to jump right into talking about the Foo Fighters. I'm going to adjust the camera a little bit while I'm talking to you too. So Foo Fighters are a band that have been around for a long time. Foo Fighters are a band that I have really enjoyed for a long time. My first experience, for those of you who have not joined Generally Nerdy for a reaction video, we're going to go into my history with the band, as well as we're going to touch on just a little bit of actual history. So I like to leave a little bit of room so that the next time, if we do another Foo Fighters reaction, I can talk a little bit more about the history. So that being said, my first experience with the Foo Fighters, sorry, I'm pulling up their wiki right now. I should have done that before I started filming, was Color and the Shape. That I bought that record because I heard the Fell Into, I think was the name of the song. Because it's you I fell into. The Futos music video. Everybody remembers that, right? And that's the reason why people were throwing Mentos at them on stage for a while. So, yes. Oh no, that is not the right Wikipedia page. Whoopsie! I loved that song, and then I bought Color and the Shape, which I feel like is the right record, but I don't remember that song being on there. No, it was not. So, debut album is... Where are you? Band's first single, This Is a Call, Foo Fighters, I'll Stick Around for the Cows. Big Me, that's the name of the song. Why is it just a self-titled record? Yeah, it must be just a self-titled record, because I don't see it and I'm just really skimming real quick. First record was self-titled, so I thought when I was buying Color and the Shape that I would get Big Me, and it was not on there. But Color and the Shape is an amazing album as well, and just fell in love from there. I still want to be Dave Grohl when I grow up. So it's been really difficult for me to not listen to their new stuff so that I could do a reaction to it, because I like to keep my reactions legit and not know what I'm getting into. They've gone through quite a bit. I've been there for basically all of the changes. When they picked up, what's his name, Taylor Hawkins, who I found out not too long ago before he played with the Foo Fighters, played for Alanis Morissette, which is kind of cool. He's the blonde drummer. That has had some issues with substance abuse and so on and so forth. They had Pat Smear on second guitar for a long time, or on lead guitar, I guess technically. I think Dave is technically the rhythm guitar player. Pat Smear was on guitar, and then they picked up Chris Shiflett, I think is how you say that. And then Pat came back to the band, and so now they have 3 guitar players, which is kind of... I didn't think it would work on the first record that they had it, and with hearing that record, I really, really was wrong about that. So, yeah, that's a real brief how I feel about the band, so you know my bias going into this. We are going to change scenes real quick. There we are. So yeah, the name of the song again is Waiting on a War. I normally, again, when we're doing regular reaction videos, I will have an instrument in my hands. I do not have that tonight because I did not want to set up the extra audio gear that was required to get that to function. So hopefully this works. We're going to do the disclaimer, and then we're going to get into the video. Before we get any further into this video, let's get a couple of things out of the way. First, if you want to listen to this song or watch this video in whole without my commentary, then go do that. This is not the place for that. This is a reaction and analysis video. We're here for a conversation, not for a watch party. I'm going to be stopping this video, talking over certain parts, and replaying certain parts, so get used to it. Second, my analysis is my opinion. My opinion comes from a place of knowledge.
I have over 30 years of musical training and experience, 20 years as a professional musician and producer, and almost 10 years as a video producer and director. I know what I'm talking about. All that being said, we will be discussing the performance of the song by the musicians, production of the song by the producer, and production of the video, should that apply, by the director and anyone else involved. Now, I return you to your regularly scheduled reaction video. Thanks, nerds.
All right, yay for random images of my bass. All right, so here we go. Expectations for this song. I've heard a little bit about the song. I haven't heard the song yet, I don't think. I have been listening to a little bit more radio than usual, so it may have come on and I've just not been aware of it. I have heard that it kind of sounds like Foo Fighters a la System of a Down, which is an interesting thing to think about. We're going to find out. So expectations, I expect to hear something different based off of that information that was relayed to me. Different from what we've heard from Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters for a long time have been active rock staples. They are kind of what I would use as the definition for that ridiculous subgenre. But that they try and throw everything into the subgenre of active rock, and I don't think a lot of that stuff qualifies. Like they say Five Finger Death Punch is active rock, and I think Five Finger Death Punch is just really mediocre metal. Foo Fighters is not Five Finger Death Punch. I think the only other band that is like the definitive sound of what I would quantify as active rock would be Stone Sour, or Corey Taylor's solo stuff, because that's kind of like Stone Sour Light. So that's kind of, I'm honestly expecting something in that arena. I do not expect it to be super heavy. There is potential for there to be like a heavy section. We'll have a bridge, I'm sure, that has a pretty awesome riff. I expect the guitar work to be really cool, because I really like the way that they've been interweaving those three guitar parts. So we will definitely be focusing on that. As far as the video, going off of this thumbnail, I think we will have a little bit to talk about as far as camera work and stuff. But really, it looks like it's just going to be a basic performance video, so nothing crazy there. And production-wise, I think this is going to be spot on. I have, even from that first record, because it's Dave Grohl, because he was in Nirvana, because he has had those connections to start, there's never been what I would quantify as a bad recording. So I fully expect the mix to be great. I think is a good way to put that. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of rock bass syndrome to worry about from the production side. A little bit on the performance side, but again, kind of the genre that is what it is. All of that being said, let's check this out, shall we? Already not System of a Down. So here's an interesting thing that Dave Grohl does a lot with his vocals, and it works. It probably hides the imperfections a lot. It's that reverb that you're hearing. So on this track, it's slightly more emphasized, and I think it's because they did a little studio trick. They doubled up on that vocal, so there is a clean that is resting on top of the reverb, but that reverb is sitting really close to the actual level of the main vocal too. So it stereo expands even more because he doubled up on that vocal line. I like the strings, it sounds like a cello behind the guitar. That's really cool. See, no rock bass syndrome. We can clearly hear all of the instruments now that they've kicked in. We have drum that just kicked in. We have bass that just kicked in. We have the acoustic guitar that's playing in the front of everything in the instrument mix. And then we also have, again, it sounds like a cello that's playing behind the acoustic guitar. Very well layered, very well produced. I didn't expect anything less. So here's a great thing that this is my first time, I'm going to be 100% honest, first time like listening to The Foo with an analytical ear. So I've maybe missed this because, like I said in my expectations, I didn't expect any rock bass syndrome to be in the production, but the performance was another story. I think that what we're getting here is very minor shades of rock bass syndrome, but he's keeping that bass line very active enough that it's still keeping it interesting, and it's propelling the song forward. So it's there is more that he potentially could be doing, and very well could go into it. I haven't heard, but as it stands right now, it's not just root notes. He's moving it a little bit, and I really, really dig that. Doom 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 doom. Okay, so it very well could have been one of the other new songs, because they've released like 3 new songs, I believe, in the last month. Could have been one of the other new songs that somebody described to me as sounding like System of a Down. But the fact that the other 2 guitar players still are doing nothing is interesting. So maybe it does pick up. I don't know. We're going to find out. Arrangement wise, I always like a good little bridge where you bring it back down. Also worth noting, when that happens, if the producer knows what he's doing, and it sounds like this guy does, if you have those vocal effects going, if you have something that is setting those vocals apart from the instrumentation, which is what that doubling up and chorus was, at a moment like this, stripping them away makes it much more effective, and that's where we are. Just listening to a band like this, listening to a band like Foo Fighters, and you can learn a lot if you're listening to the production. If you want to get into mixing your own stuff, if you're in a band, or if you're really interested in sound and you want to do this, then finding a band like Foo Fighters, finding a band that is solid. Whether or not the music is your cup of tea is kind of irrelevant. Actually, it's probably better if you're not a fan and you force yourself to listen to it and pick out all of the good things. There are so many good things in this. The layering is it's just, yeah. I'm gonna stop gushing. We're gonna get to the end of this. Since I was a little boy
Is there more to this? More to this? More to this than
Are we gonna pick up now?
waiting on a world?
Sounds like maybe.
Just waiting on a world. Just waiting on a war for this and that. There's got to be more to this than that. Just waiting on a war for this and that. There's got to be more to this than that. Just waiting on a war for this and that. There's got to be more.
Ooh, I like that. Very exciting, these drums, now that we can hear the full set. Wow, listen to, you have so I told you I was going to stop gushing and I lied. You have a kick that I can feel in my gut through the headphones. Like, this is a master class in how to mix rock and roll music. You have 3 guitars that are layered so well that it just sounds gigantic. You have a bass that's punching through that giant wall of sound, and you still have what appears to be keyboards that are playing the synthesized string arrangement. Still sitting just behind all of that stuff. I say behind, so when you're mixing, when you're doing a mix, when you're doing the thing, this is something that it took them a long time. If you listen to like the original Beatles recordings, they're all in mono because that was the technology that they had at the time. When rock and roll went stereo, they didn't know what to do with it. So a lot of times they put vocals in one side and instruments in the other side. So it's a very strange listening experience when you have headphones on. So what producers have learned to do since the 60s and the 50s is you create a sonic landscape, not just in the EQ section where each instrument has its own little area of the overall EQ that it sits in, but also in the pan. So if you do it well enough, and this applies like quadruply so to the drums, if you do it well enough, then the person who's listening feels like they're in the room with the band, feels like they're in the middle of the band playing around them. So you pan guitar a certain degree to the right so that there's still a little bit in the left, but it's mostly in the right. Yeah, it's kind of, there's a lot of sonic science behind it because the average person, I forget the percentage of people, but it's more than half of people have a more distinct bass, can hear bass better in their left ear. It's been so long since I've looked at this information. I would give you those numbers, but I don't remember them. But I do remember that bass, generally speaking, gets panned to the left. So when you're on the drums, the kick and the lower toms get a little bit more panned to the left, and then the snare and the cymbals and the higher toms all kind of go a little bit to the right. So again, it's kind of creating this wall of sound. Because it is only stereo, you can only do basically 180 degrees. So either they sound like they're on either side of me or they sound like they're in front of me, but you can't really make it sound like they're behind you. Trent Reznor figured out how to do that somehow on the I don't remember what record that was now. It's going to drive me crazy. Whatever. On one of the Nine Inch Nails records, one of the more recent Nine Inch Nails records, if you listen to it on 4 speakers, somehow it goes through all 4 speakers. I don't know what he did. Anyway, so this, we have sonically, everything is not only EQ'd so that it's distinct, but it's also panned so that you feel like you're sitting in the room with the band. This is great production. Sounds like the keyboards switched from strings to synth, which is appropriate. I just want to listen to that whole section one more time. As we're picking up. So listen to the guitars, because the levels of the guitars kind of transition. We're focusing more on acoustic guitar, and then the electric guitar kind of kicks in from behind. So we have two different electrics that are playing. We have the electric that's playing similarly to the acoustic in that it's doing the chuggy, more drone kind of strum, and then we have Pat Smear's guitar, which is what sounds like the lead for this, and he's the one that is the most dramatic transition. He goes from really far down in the mix all the way up to on top, because that's the most sonically interesting thing that's going on here besides the vocals. So just that transition from folded way back into the mix to being on top of the mix is really interesting to see, especially since this is growing in tempo as well. So the tempo is picking up as this transition is happening. It's very, very well done. And now he's on top. Really cool production note there at the end too. As the instruments cut out, and so this time we heard both versions of the vocal with no instrument behind it. It's very, very brief, but it confirms my suspicion from the beginning. There's definitely two different vocal takes there, one of which is reverbed the hell out. Very effective. I really dug it. I have no notes of anything I would have done differently aside from the vocals. I'm not big on verb on vocals. I feel like singers use it to hide their flaws, which, being as they're a rock band, it's kind of a given. That was a lot of fun. I love the Foo Fighters. I don't know if I told you this yet. Actually, I do know I told you this at the very beginning so that you would know why I was gushing for the whole video. But yeah, that's the only thing I would have differently, and that's totally a style thing. That's not because I don't think they did anything wrong by doing all that reverb on his vocal. That's just a lot of fun. So I think we're just going to end this. Sorry, wrong screen. There we go. Yeah, as you can see, I'm still working on all of these assets because I haven't been doing reaction videos, so it hasn't really been high priority, but I feel like I needed to pump a couple of them out. So we're using some of the gaming screens just because they're easy. Thank you very much, nerds. You should be able to see other things going on right there to the side of my face. Click that. Go see all of the stuff that's happening on the channel. I really appreciate your faces. Yeah, we're going to do a couple more of these. I'm going to start doing them once a week instead of just a couple of days apart, just to keep them a little more spaced out so I can knock out a batch and then I don't have to worry about it for a couple of weeks. So yeah, you're going to see another one. I haven't decided what the next video is going to be yet. So all of that being said, thank you very much, nerds. We're going to head out. Before I go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.